Good evening. New York University professor, Lebanese-American essayist, mathematical statistician, former option trader, risk analyst Nikolas Taleb will be doing an interview with the public TV tonight. Mr. Taleb, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm extremely honored to be here in Armenia.
You are taking part in Science and Business Days in Yerevan. This is your first time here.
Yes.
Are expectations matching reality so far?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a country that has a huge amount of technical skills, and it's a country of the future. When you go to old Europe, you feel that they're in the past, and here you feel that they're in the future. They talk about the future, they think about the future. So there's an energy here that you feel everywhere you go.
What makes you so optimistic? I'm
just describing my impressions of the place, but I am extremely familiar with the Armenian community, given that I'm Lebanese, you know, so therefore I grew up with Armenians, and you see them around the world, so it's the same diasporas typically. And I see and I hear what's going on, and you see that there is some amount of energy in Armenia and in the Armenian communities around the world. In spite of current events, you know, the shrinking of Armenia, but the prospects are huge. Education levels are very high. People are extremely skilled.
Feels good to hear that from a university professor, especially a New York University professor. Mr. Taleb, thousands of writers write books and go unnoticed, but your Black Swan and Anti-Fragility are an irrefutable success. Okay. What's the story behind it?
The fact is that I went from practice to theory rather than going from theory to practice. I was a trader for a certain number of years, doing scientific trading, but I was a trader. Instead of learning stuff in the books, first I learned, you know, by doing. There was actually no books for what I was doing, so developed a certain view of the world that is that of a practitioner. And not many practitioners really write books. Typically, people who write books are in the business of writing books. People who do research are in the business of doing research. So I was lucky to be a practitioner first, and then later, you know, retiring from practice at an early age, in my early 40s, I decided to devote myself to scholarship. So I started with a couple of books before The Black Swan, and then later on, The Black Swan was a huge hit because maybe it addressed stuff that were not part of the discourse. Most people focus on what they know, and I focus on what we don't know or we can't know, and you got to live with it. You got to live with the fact that there are a lot of stuff we don't understand. Science is about what we understand. I'm in a different business. That was the appeal of the book, and perhaps because I was a practitioner, people liked it better, you see, so maybe it's more colorful, maybe it feels more real. If someone, as a plumber, writes a book on plumbing, he's going to be taken more seriously than if a theoretician writes a book on plumbing. So that's why I was lucky to have the right resume when I wrote the book. Maybe someone else wouldn't have had the same impact.
You study randomness, probability, and uncertainty. Break down these concepts, please.
No, I mean, every time, from the minute you wake up, you're dealing with uncertainty. It's not something you know, new to humans. It's just like I wanted a more structured way of handling what we don't know, because you have, and then classifying uncertainty, doing the two classes of uncertainty, what I call mediocristan, extremistan. It's technical for now, but I mean, it's the different gradations of uncertainty. And some environments can handle uncertainty, others can't. For example, if you have a company has a lot of debt, if a country has a lot of debt, it's harder to face random events compared to a country that has, you know, reserves, or a company that has money in the bank. So how different entities can face, you know, the unknown is part of what my work was about. And then suddenly practitioners liked my work, academics didn't like it initially, and then later on academics started liking it. Some classes of academics, because I started publishing in academic journals after the Black Swan.
Mr. Taleb, why should the typical member of a materialistic, capitalistic society care? About randomness, about probability, about uncertainty? How does this translate into practicality?
It is, you have to read the book. I mean, I don't like cliches, you know, you've got to do this, not that, but the general approach is to focus on what you don't know rather than focus on what you know. And then things become easy. Focus on what not to do rather than what to do, by elimination. So those are tricks, and you work on tricks. But I don't work on, individual decision making in real in ordinary life. Most of my work is on systems, on how government should deal with uncertainty, how corporations should handle random events, how should it be structured to face the unknown.
I couldn't possibly sit down with one of the greatest minds of the time and not pose the following problem to you.
Yes.
Armenia's business climate is investment friendly. Monopolies and systemic corruption are out of the way. The government is approachable and works on reducing bureaucracy. But it's still a small market, 3 million only. And we face security threats by unfriendly neighbors. How do you make such market more attractive to the foreign investor?
Okay. I'm not into, answering. As a scholar, you work on what you have worked on, and Armenia, I've never studied really Armenia in a professional way to be able to make pronouncements.
But I'm asking you to deal with uncertainty right now.
I have no idea how to handle the Armenian situation other than to keep working hard. But I can't on improving your GDP, because you have had huge growth. Something's working somewhere in the Armenian economy, but that's not my specialty. And again, what characterizes me is that I don't discuss, I discuss only matters that I have dealt with in my books. That's not my profession, you see. So to give precise directions, telling people what to do. I wrote a book called Skin in the Game. And in Skin in the Game, I explained that people should not be given advice if they don't pay the cost of being wrong. So I never ask someone, what do you think I should buy? I ask the person, what do you own? What's in your portfolio? You see? So therefore, giving an advice on Armenia, if I'm wrong, is contrary to my principle, because I don't pay any price for being wrong. I'd be gone, the Armenians would pay the price. So therefore, it is against my principles. But I'm glad you asked the question, because I wrote 5 books. The Acerto, part of the discussion. Acerto, volume 5 is called Skin in the Game, and it's precisely about the ethics of giving advice.
Let me come to this, approach this from another angle.
Yes.
You advocate what you call a black swan robust society.
Yes.
This is a society that can withstand difficult to predict events.
Yes.
What kind of a society can withstand the unpredictable?
As I said before, it has to have some structure. You should have low debt. It should be small. I can't in a short interview outline all the details. Nation states can only work well if they're small. City states usually work better than larger nations because of lack of centralization. Places like the United States work well, but much better than Russia in spite of the size, because it is a bottom-up society, whereas Russia is more centralized top-down, China is top-down. That makes them fragile. Your former president, I think, has worked on small states, on a theory of small states, and I find the idea very appealing. And Armenia is a small state. Small states are much more manageable than large nations, unless the large nations like the United States are completely decentralized. The United States is not a republic, it's a federation with a lot of power to the cities rather than the central government. So the recipes of things that I've outlined in my books, there's no general rule except that small is usually better up to a point. No debt is better. Growth fueled by debt is very bad. Growth fueled organically is very good. Depending on the financial markets for equity all the time is very bad. Bootstrapped cash flows, from cash flows is very good. There are general rules that you have, but the principal one is you must be able to handle uncertainty at all levels, and the best way to handle uncertainty is have a little bit of disorder, in your life all the time. So you're used to handling that kind of variability. Like too much stability typically leads to collapses.
How do you build a society that can withstand the unpredictable?
It is
the disorder, the chaos?
No. There are some rules: size, centralization, decision making, how you have to have devolution to small cities, how you must avoid. As I said before, the principal thing is not to rely on debt for financing. Everything else becomes easy.
You propose what you have termed anti-fragility in systems, which is an ability to benefit and grow from random events, errors, and volatility. What kind of a system does it take? Again?
Everything. You benefit from uncertainty. For example, if you spend time, every human body requires some volatility. If you don't feed the human body with volatility, it becomes fragile. To give you an example, if you spend 6 months in bed and then you took a walk or took the subway, you definitely would get ill. You see, if you don't go to the gym, your body becomes weaker. So you need some kind of dose of disorder all the time to get stronger. So everything organic requires a little bit of disorder, because the natural systems don't deal with changes in environment, from the top down. They deal with it by upregulating via stressors. So stressors, small little stressors all the time, are very good for you. That I explained in Anti-Fragile.
How do you build a society
as I said before,
that can stand?
You asked me before. I told you have to be robust by avoiding debt and having no centralization.
So the principles are the same?
Yeah, everything. The principle for nature is the same as it is for societies, as for government, for everything.
Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Nikolas Taleb sat down with the public TV tonight.